So, what does it actually mean to be an American citizen? For over a century, the answer's been pretty clear. Just be born on U.S. soil. But now the Supreme Court is about to weigh in, and you know what? Its decision could change everything. Let's break it down.
Okay, let's dive right in. Imagine a foundational pillar of American law, something that's been standing solid for more than 100 years. Now imagine it's starting to shake. Well, that's pretty much what's happening right now, as a core principle of citizenship is being challenged all the way to the Supreme Court.
So what's the specific event that's kicking off this huge legal battle? It all comes down to a direct challenge aimed at a constitutional interpretation that's been around for a very, very long time. And here it is. The Supreme Court just announced it's going to hear a case on the president's executive order to end birthright citizenship. And look, this isn't just another policy debate. This is a fundamental question of presidential power versus what many believe is a constitutional guarantee.
What's really interesting is that the court gave absolutely no reason for its decision to take the case. But the timeline is moving fast. We're expecting arguments next spring, with a final and no doubt historic decision expected before the end of June.
So, to really grasp the weight of this moment, we have to understand the history behind it. This isn't just any law, It's a precedent that has shaped American society for generations.
For over 100 years, through all kinds of massive shifts in politics and society, the legal understanding of citizenship by birth has been remarkably stable and consistent. This principle is known as birthright citizenship. It's the idea that anyone born on U.S. soil is a citizen, no matter the legal status of their parents. Now, this isn't just a policy, it's an interpretation rooted right in the Constitution itself. So the crucial point here is that for over a century, this really wasn't a seriously debated legal concept. It's a standard that's been established and then consistently reaffirmed by the courts time and time again.
So, how on earth did such a settled precedent find its way to the Supreme Court? Let's trace the path that led to this presidential challenge.
Yeah, this issue didn't just appear before the court overnight. It was part of a broader immigration agenda. The Supreme Court has actually looked at this before, but in that first case, they only dealt with a procedural question, not the fundamental constitutional one. Now the president is asking them to rule on the core issue itself.
And this brings us to a really critical distinction. That first case was all about process, how far-reaching a lower court's ruling could be. But this new case is about power. Does the president have the constitutional authority to change the definition of citizenship by executive order at all? Big difference.
And this is a key takeaway for right now. Despite all of this legal maneuvering, the executive order is on hold. As of today, birthright citizenship remains the official policy of the United States. Nothing has actually changed yet. So, the big question now is, what happens next? What, if anything, can we read into the court's decision to even take this case?
Right. Can we read the tea leaves? Does the simple act of taking the case signal how the justices might rule? Well, legal experts are currently debating a couple of key possibilities. There are basically two main schools of thought here. On one hand, you've got the idea that the court might be taking the case because some justices want to overturn the lower rulings and let the executive order go forward. On the other hand, it might be about something else entirely. And that second possibility is where most legal experts seem to be landing. The prevailing belief is that the Supreme Court is stepping in simply because the issue is just too important to be left unsettled. It requires a final, definitive answer from the nation's highest court. And that leaves us with the fundamental question at the heart of this entire landmark case. The court's decision, expected by next June, won't just be another ruling. It's going to be a definitive statement on who is and who can become an American. The only question now is whether a century of precedent is about to be reaffirmed or completely rewritten.